Unanimous, because one, the microphone has a cord, and I don't. And two, I don't know. All right, so I'm Steve Goodgame, K5ATA. I am the Education and Learning Manager at ARRL. So basically anything that has anything to do with education kind of goes through me, along with 87 other different projects. But before we get started, I want to introduce, stand up, Katie. Anybody happen to get out to the youth forum this morning, Carol Perry's youth forum? She did a phenomenal presentation about amateur, I gotta wait for the clap, that's a good sign, you can bow now. About amateur radio in school. So a lot of the things, I sat there going, wanting to shout amen constantly, because a lot of the stuff I'm gonna say here is exactly what she said there. So while I'm gonna give you it from the grown folks' perspective, after we're done, Katie's available. She's more than happy. I've been sending her people all day to answer questions, because sometimes kids and stuff want to hear it from another Ute. So thank you, Katie. So great job today. So if I can remember which button's what. I'm a quote guy. I like quotes. So one of the quotes I'm using today is, if you want to lift yourself up, lift up somebody else first. I'm using that from the perspective of, if you want to lift up amateur radio, okay, you need to lift up some Utes to get it there. The times have changed. The way that we think of as old people, and I say we, even though we have a lot of youngsters in the house, thank you. Okay, but times are changing. The way that we get into schools is no longer a random person showing up and saying, hi, can I go sit with your kids in a basement and play radio? It doesn't work, okay? So we have a slightly different focus on that. So survey time. I'm going to go ahead and warn you now, this is not your typical ARRL forum. I'm not going to stand behind here with a bunch of people talking at you. We're going to have a conversation. So if you're shy, it's time to get past that. Okay? So raise your hand if you love amateur radio. Most of us can probably do this one. Okay? Raise your hand if you were introduced to amateur radio at a young age. And by young, you see I put that in quotes, because young to some people is different than young to other people. Okay? Raise your hand if you've ever gone to a school to encourage them or ask them or beg them or plead with them to please include amateur radio into their school. If you've ever actively worked to engage youth in amateur radio. I want to point something out. You see the Utes. I keep wanting to say Utes from my cousin Vinny, but the Utes don't get the Utes reference. Okay? That is who they need to hear some of this stuff from. Okay? And this is one for everybody, because everybody likes to feel included. If you were ever a kid, raise your hand. See? You got to have one that everybody gets a prize. Now, I taught school for 21 years before I took this job. I took this job about 1.5 years ago, and I quickly figured out some things. I don't want to say that were being done wrong, but let's just say could be done better. Okay? These little things are from my teaching days. TPS stands for Think, Pair, Share, because you're going to actually talk to people around you. Yes, I know we don't have a microphone in our hand. It's going to be okay. We call these eyeball QSOs. Okay? So just really quickly, name something you remember seeing or doing for the first time, not amateur radio related, that you went, holy cow, that's cool. So quickly talk among the people sitting kind of sort of close to you. Okay, but it cannot be ham radio related. You're in the right place, brother. Come on in. Hold on, talk to them first, then we're going to get our people here. May the Morse be with you. Right up until you broke your toe. And it was in a bag. Okay? All right, and if you would quickly kind of bring that down. All right, so who wants to share? What do we got? You're going to have to be loud, be proud. Come on and make some noise like Lemonade Mouth. Petting sharks. I would like to pet a shark as long as it didn't pet me back with his teeth. Airplanes. See, that was me as a kid. Airplanes? How in the world they get something that big and heavy to not fall down? Because I fell off the roof. I don't get it. Who else? Landing on the moon. Okay? Somebody up here said telescopes. Okay? You know, space. Think, Saturn. The idea of space as a kid was like brain melting. It's like, whoa. Those are the kind of memories we want to give kids about amateur radio. Okay? Amateur radio is not amateur radio of 40 and 50 years ago for these kids. Okay? Times have changed. All right, so youth outreach is all about focus. Okay, what we focus on and how we focus on it. So what are we going to focus on? Youth interest. Yes, their interest. Not mine. Sorry, I keep tapping that. You're going to have to clean that up. Not yours, not the ARRLs, not the school teachers, but their interest, the kids. They don't necessarily care about what you care about. Okay, you might like that boat anchor. They don't. They might. I mean, every now and then you have somebody, like for example, I'm not going to ask how much she spent on it, but she just picked up a Bengali key today. Okay, you can take your interest, but whatever the kid says they want to do, what they want to learn, that's where you go. Okay, discover what they like and then create meaningful connections to amateur radio. Now you notice I capitalized the word meaningful because it actually has to connect in a way that means something to that kid. By meaningful, I don't mean meaningful to me. I get the warm, fuzzy feeling, oh, look. No. I want the kid to be engaged and take an interest in it. That's meaningful. Okay? And then give them the tools to get engaged quickly. This is from Dayton last year. Okay? This kid walked up. He had some questions about amateur radio. His dad was a ham. He's like, maybe, maybe not. And I threw the gauntlet, and I said, right across the face with the glove, threw it down and said, if you get licensed tomorrow, I'm going to give you a radio. He showed up with a CSE the next day, and he got a radio. What kind of radio did I give him? Okay? Who in here has a Baofeng? Okay? They are what, 30 bucks, 35 bucks on an expensive day? Okay? There are people in the world that say, oh my gosh, it's a Baofeng. Guess what? He doesn't care. He's on the air. Okay, I did this in my classroom. I gave away 60. I had 60 kids licensed. I gave away 60 Baofengs to kids. When I took this job and moved to Connecticut, I left at least 40 Baofengs in the closet of my old classroom for the guy that took it over to give to kids. Because immediacy is kind of like discipline. You know, punishment has to be quick. Well, the same thing here. Reward needs to be quick. Okay? I got the Baofengs from people like this, the YouTube community. Okay, I funded my entire program because schools have no money through YouTube. So guys like Steve sent me stuff. Kyle sent me stuff. Josh, Ham Radio Crash Course, sent me stuff. So, you know, if you ever see these YouTube guys and they're here everywhere, just say thank you, because I can't say it enough. All right, so speaking of meaningful connections, not everything in amateur radio makes a good connection to every youth interest. Okay, so don't force it. A lot of times that's what we do. We're comfortable with something, we're like, this is what I know, I'm gonna make this fit this. Don't force it, because they're not stupid. Okay? They're gonna be like, dude, you're working way too hard to make this fit. And guess what they're gonna do? They're gone. Okay? Like I said, kids are gonna recognize it. This is the one that as old people, we have trouble with. I use that term inclusively. I shaved my head for a reason. Okay? If they have a connection, regardless of how odd or out there you think it is, if they express an interest in something, drop what your plans were and go there. If you're not the guy or girl to go there, go find somebody who is. Okay? If, for example, who in here has ever worked FT8? Okay? If you hate FT8, please don't be that person. Okay? There is absolutely nothing wrong with looking at a kid. I can promise you, you can ask the kids in here if you can say, you know what? I don't know, Katie. Let me introduce you to Kyle. So I would have called you, but you know, no name. So Kyle is the resident expert on FT8. That's fine. They will respect you for that. Okay? But please don't go, well, you don't want to do that. Let's do, CW instead. Unless, it's Katie. Did I get all the time? All right, so partnerships. We have to create partnerships with people, okay? I don't know why I put TPS there. I had something I wanted to talk about, but I don't ever follow an agenda. One person can't do it alone, okay? It takes a group effort. Partner with other clubs. Who else can we partner with? Now I remember why I put that there, okay? Who else can we partner with to get more youths involved? We can have clubs. Who else? Scouts. Okay? I will be the first to admit, anybody here into scouting? I will be the first one to admit that the ARRL has done a really poor job of supporting scouts for the last 15 years. Okay? I took that job a year and a half ago, and that's one of the things I looked at, and I was like, this stuff is 30 years old. Okay, so we are actively working to fix that. Okay, it's just, I'm actively working on a lot of things. But I promise, it is coming. Okay? Other organizations like, hey, look, scouts and schools. Okay? And then me. I need partners. I am one person in a 160,000 member organization. Okay? I need people out there in the field that help with this stuff. That's why we work with YouTube people. Okay? Because they can disseminate a message that I can't always get out anymore. That's why I need y'all. When you shoot me an email and say, hey, I want to go out to a school, I've got a whole packet of stuff I'll send you. I just need people to go talk to them. All right, so partnering with young hams. There is a lot of times as old people, we're like, oh, well, they don't necessarily want to work side by side. They feel like they need to be the teacher and the other one needs to be the student. Okay, this is Morgan. She's in our collegiate amateur radio program. Goes to St. Louis, whatever that school is, Science and Technology, whatever. Yeah, that one. Okay, she's into rockets. She's also a ham. So these guys, all these guys here, none of them are hams, but they're rocket people. So they helped her build this rocket, and if you write down her call sign and go check it out, you can link to the whole video. It's impressive. That thing got up to like 10,000 some odd feet. I was like, bruh, I could do some stuff with that if I want. Anyway, so, oh, there it is right there, 10,960 feet. But she used APRS to track her rocket. That was a dual learning kind of thing. That was a partnership. The rocket people taught her rocket stuff. She taught the rocket people amateur radio stuff. That's a win-win. Okay, now this is my Sermon on the Mount. This is where I'm going to climb on my soapbox and I'm going to stay here for a minute. Okay, I did this for 21 years. Teachers are key. You are not getting in a school without a teacher or some kind of school person. You're not going to do it. I don't blame them at all. I understand that our motivations are pure and great, but unfortunately, times have changed. Okay? Now, I have the ability to help you get into schools. In fact, we run our Teachers Institute, where I will fly a teacher to Connecticut. I will put them in a hotel for a week. I will feed them. I will show them how to do this stuff in their classroom, and I'll give them equipment to take back to their classroom. And it is donor funded. Okay, the entire expense to the teacher of the school district is that $100 application fee, and I'll be honest with you, that is just me making sure that they get their rear end on a plane seat. So they have a little bit of skin in the game. Okay? We need to focus on these teachers. Now, when I say teachers, I will also bring other school representatives in for if they work in a school and the principal of a school signs off saying, hey, this person's going to run a club for us, and we're good with that. I've brought bus shop managers. Okay? I've brought principals. I've brought counselors. In fact, last year, we had 3 teachers from the Mississippi School for the Blind, and I told them up front, I'm like, guess what? You're teaching me at the same time because amateur radio is not accessible enough for blind people. Okay? Anybody in here have vision problems? We were just talking. I'm getting old. By the time I'm 70, I'm going to need some of these resources. Okay? It's an underserved population. So they came in and I was like, all right, you're going to help me with developing some of these lessons and how we're going to work with them. and I'm going to help you get amateur radio in your school. They're key to getting youth interested. Let's just be real for a minute. Schools, they have a captive audience. The kids are stuck. They have to be there. They're tired of whatever their other stuff is. This is something fun that they get to do in school. Now, I use the term school a little bit more loosely than some people do. Not just public schools. I take private schools. I take homeschool co-op teachers. Because let's just be honest, homeschool co-ops have the most flexibility out of anybody. Okay? We're running 5 sessions this year, maybe 6. Maybe 6, because this guy right here claims he's got a group of teachers in South Carolina. We're going to try to see if I can squeeze 6 out of our CFO. We'll see. Okay? And we're actively seeking funding to grow, and I'll make my sales pitch to you on that here at the end of this. So this is a group of our teachers from this last summer. You'll notice we're outside because I changed a lot of things in this program when we came in. In fact, when I first came here, I watched the first year of them. Anybody want to guess what day 1 of Teachers Institute was? Keep in mind, Teachers Institute 1 was a program where okay, do you think your average teenager has a couple $100 to buy that? But they can come up with $30. See what I'm saying? So they need to understand that amateur radio, it can be accessible and cheap. It's as expensive as you choose to make it. Because if we constantly make it look like you have to have top-end equipment to do it, kids aren't doing it. Okay? Oh, I'm not done telling you what else we're including. An ARRL antenna. I'm giving every teacher an ARRL antenna. Okay, anybody know what those are? The little directional jabadoos? Yeah. I'm giving them a Fox. Little, okay? Yeah, and he's like, there you go, because you know why I'm giving him a Fox? Because a teacher can go back to their classroom, walk out to the football field somewhere, hide the Fox behind the bleachers, and that very first day they're back, their kids are doing amateur radio stuff. It takes 0 setup other than walking across a field somewhere. You can start talking to kids about how direction finding works. Now, hang on, how many radios am I giving them? 2, but I'm only giving them 1 antenna. What's the second antenna? We're teaching them to build a tape measure Yagi. Okay? Because guess what? It's cheap. Kids need cheap. Teachers need cheap. If it weren't for people like this, I couldn't have done it. Okay, now we have 2 people that are competing to find a Fox using different tools. Okay, we're giving them a basic electronic kit. We're giving them a microcontroller kit. I'm sure there's some other stuff I probably forgot. Okay, you also have to understand that kids can do hard stuff. And kids like to do hard stuff. Okay? Kids, believe it or not, most of your behavior problems in school are not because the work is too hard. It's because the work is too easy and they're bored. Okay? But there's a difference between hard and pointless and complicated and difficult, and it serves a purpose. Okay? So these 2 little cats right here, they had never heard an FM radio, believe it or not. Anybody in here even listen to FM radio anymore? Okay? Because kids nowadays stream their radio through their phone, and it's not, so they'd never heard of it, so they built those. These things right here. Okay? I bought some of these things with some of those YouTube donations that people were sending me, and we would build these things. Sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't, but when they did, I let them wander around the entire school with that radio on full blast so that everybody else in the building know those 2 kids just built something cool and wanted to know what that cool thing was. And they're like, whoa. And then they started to learn some stuff like, I can pick up one station on one side of the building, but the other side I can't. And they started to connect some dots. Youth want a sense of belonging to something. Okay? One thing we know, they like to belong to groups. They're going to bounce around from activity to activity. You've got to be okay with that. Okay? Kids do that. Just because somebody decides the next 6 weeks they're going to soccer doesn't mean it's a slight on you. Don't start dissing the soccer program. They're kids. They do it as often as they change underwear. Okay? At least weekly. Once they find their crew and engage, that's when the learning happens. Okay? And kids gather in places a lot of people in this room don't know what they are. Where do kids go? Where do they hang out? Not just physically, but where do you, I've heard a bunch of them today. What kind of places and resources do kids use to hang out with each other? The internet. Where specifically in the internet? You're going to have to be loud, brother, because I'm old.
Snapchat, Instagram.
Okay, Snapchat, Instagram. What else? Twitter? TikTok? Discord?
Yep.
Okay. How many people in here above the age of 26 years old have ever been in a Discord? Okay. It's a huge chat room. Okay. You have to be okay with that. Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if you have young people, tread carefully, because Discord is moderated by whoever creates the server. Okay. So while I'm saying this is where they're going, you also need to be aware of where they're going and the environment that they're in. So by no means am I saying, please send them out into every Discord they want to go to. No. Okay? I'm just saying, be aware that that's where they're going. And there are Discord servers out there that are targeted towards amateur radio for youth. Okay? And, oops, my slide doesn't really work, but kind of messed that up. All right, so create a space that is designed specifically for kids. In my classroom, I had multiple spaces. I know this because my honey would constantly come tell me, your room's a mess. Yeah. I had soldering stuff over here, 3D printing stuff over here, a station over here, a pile of just other random stuff that I tried to tell her was something that we were working on, but it was just random stuff. Okay? Let them have that spot and let them own it. It's theirs. Teach them how to use it, they'll take care of it, and give them the freedom to use it how they want to. As a teacher, that was hard. It was hard for me to say, yeah, whatever area you want to go to, have at it, as long as you're working on something productive. And it does take some training and stuff, but. All right, so licensing. This is a question for you. Should we, and talk about amongst yourself first, should we actively pursue getting kids licensed, or should we just introduce them to amateur radio? So I'm going to give you about a minute to talk to your neighbors, have a kumbaya kind of moment. About 10 more seconds. So what do we think? Raise your hand, levante su mano, if you think we should get them licensed or actually pursue getting them licensed. Okay? Raise your hand if you think, no. Okay? So, is it okay to have two opinions on this? Absolutely. Now, I kind of left some things out. For example, I'm not saying, I didn't say should we force them into licensing. Raise your hand, levante su mano, if you think we should get them licensed or actually pursue getting them licensed. Okay? Raise your hand if you think, no. Okay? So, is it okay to have two opinions on this? Absolutely. Now, I kind of left some things out. For example, I'm not saying, I didn't say should we force them into licensing. Okay? Do I think we should pursue getting them licensed? Yes, is my belief. But, there's a but there. And I believe it was you that said it. Only if they show that interest in doing it. Okay? You should show them and give them the opportunity. So I guess instead of pursue, is more should we allow them the opportunity or provide that opportunity? And absolutely we should. I think that should be the goal. But at the same time, if Kyle over here is that dude that's like, I ain't getting my license, I shouldn't force Kyle to get his license because he's never going to do anything with it anyway. In fact, he's probably going to resent you for forcing it, and you've just lost any ground that you made. Okay? But I firmly fall on that if they even show the most remote interest in getting licensed, set the hook and run for it. Okay? Because of the opportunities it prevents later. Okay? So, what a beautiful segue, Steve. So, another program, now I'm going to go ahead and tell you, this guy right here was a lifesaver. In Mississippi, where I taught, if we got an inch of snow on the ground, school was closed for a week. Okay? And I kid you not. So I had a group test set up where the local club was going to come in and test a bunch of my kids. I forget, there was like 18 kids or something. And we got snowed in. We had about an inch. They canceled. So I rescheduled it for later in the week. They said, no, we can't do it. We're still afraid to drive. I was like, ugh. And I was commiserating on somebody's live stream on YouTube and going, man, it sucks. And all of a sudden, I get a message from this dude here. It says, let's just do it remotely. Okay? We got all my kids tested 2 days later? Maybe the next day. I don't remember. It was pretty darn quick. Okay?
How quick did they happen?
And they get their call sign, if you're lucky, the same day. But definitely by the next morning. Okay? In fact, it's enough that I was impressed enough with the way that it worked there that we're at headquarters, we're starting to experiment with a little program where our VEC, if a classroom teacher emails me or calls me and says, hey, I got some kids that I need to get tested, why have them wait? We're in the building. We have VEs. Open up a Zoom session, test them. Get them done. Okay? You look like you have a question. Oh, I was gonna give you an amen if you... Rock it, brother. Okay.
You've already done one.
Yes, we just tested 32 kids from Staten Island High School. All 32 passed. One even passed as general.
They were
Okay.
really high up there.
So it's a technical high school, but this guy called me and he did. He's like, I guess I'm gonna have to like send these kids out to these local clubs. I'm like, abso-smurfly not, Batman. And so we just did it this way. And you know, there was a little bit of arm twisting and stuff that had to happen, but we got it done. 3 Zoom sessions, 32 hams later. I got a beautiful thank you card on my desk now. Okay. So a quick little story though. Licensing kids isn't enough. Because 3 out of those 4 kids, he just wanted to be in the picture. 3 out of those 4 kids were licensed in 2006. They were 4th graders. In 2007, I moved from Texas to Mississippi. Okay? I had gotten grants to do some ham radio stuff, but I'll just be honest, my daughter started reading when she was younger than I expected, and she was reading billboards in downtown Dallas, and I decided that was time to take my baby home somewhere else. Okay? So I handed off the program, or so I thought, to a local ham. His wife worked in the school, and he said, yes, I'll take this on. Instead, I don't know where the equipment went, but it didn't stay in the school. Okay, and nobody engaged those kids. What do you think happened to those kids in 10 years? Every single one of their licenses expired. Okay, because nobody stayed to make meet those connections for them. I got them licensed. They were pumped. We had a station. They'd made a couple contacts. You know, this guy right here broke one of my Yaesu handhelds. I was okay with it. I mean, I kind of was upset because, you know, they're expensive. But hey, okay, so licensing's not enough. They have to get engaged. And to do that, we have to treat things a little differently. All right, so fishing. We can catch fish in almost any water. Okay, but come on in, Joe. Joe's embarrassed. I called him out. Okay, we can catch fish in almost any water, but what fish I can catch where varies. Okay, so we have to go fishing where the kids are. So are we fishing in the right pond? Here's another one. For years, Teachers Institute at headquarters, we had trouble filling them. I didn't understand it. I took this job. I was like, oh, well, surely we have just an overflow of people. Negative, ghostwriter. We didn't have enough people to fill them. I was like, why? Where are you going to get your teachers? Hamfests. Raise your hand in here if you're a teacher. Oh, 1, 2, 3, but you know, we kind of don't count because we came for the show, okay? You're not teachers. This isn't the place to go get teachers. I was like, y'all be fishing in the wrong pond, okay? And I had to do a little convincing, and I was like, we need to go to teacher conferences. So we're fishing in a different pond now. I fully expect to have 400 to 500 applicants for Teachers Institute this year because we're going to education conferences. Not just anyone. I'm going to education like science conferences. We're going to National Science Teachers Association. Stuff where our people are. People that are like, hey, I teach science. I can do this, okay? So somebody has to keep these kids plugged in. This is 1 year of my kids, okay? Now, fortunately, I left this group in much better hands than my first group because, you know, I learned some lessons. And so the guy that's there now, he's taking it on. In fact, he initially got his license with these kids. He was another teacher in the building, and he's like, wait, you're doing what? And I told him, he's like, do you care if I come sit in during my planning period every day? He sat in every day. He got his license. He's an extra now. He's a VE for LARG. Okay, he's testing kids. He's getting kids licensed. He's doing good stuff with it. So somebody has to keep them plugged in. All right, so how do we keep kids plugged in? This is another one of your 1 minute little power talks. Okay, so y'all talk among yourselves for a minute. How are we keeping kids plugged in? Okay, about another 10 seconds. All right, so what do we think? Strike when the define that for me. Tell me what you mean. Hamfest, field days, POTAs. You said that. Parent Teacher Association. What else? Science fairs. Now let me do this a little differently. To our youths, and by youth, it's anybody 26 or younger. What do y'all like to do in ham radio? Yeah. DX. Okay. What else? Morse code. What else? Anything? Satellites. That's the other part of why I give them an arrow antenna. Because guess what? With that same antenna and those 2 radios I gave them, they can do satellite work. They can go outside if the ISS happens to be over. Now that guy that was talking so much is not on there right now, but you know, you never know. Maybe somebody else, that one got killed or however you say his name. Home Slice was on that thing every day. Kids could just go outside and talk to an astronaut. I don't know, when I was kind of infatuated with Saturn and stuff like that as a kid, if I could have talked to an astronaut, I'd have been sold. There's just a certain coolness factor to that. Yeah, I talked to an astronaut today. What'd you do? I called my friend on my phone. Yeah, I win. Okay? All right. So youth clubs, local clubs, field days, schools, scouts. And these are some that some of you know about and some of you don't. Okay? YOTA, that's Youth on the Air. That's where the kids are hanging out today. Right across from the ARRL booth, there's a whole wall of youth booths. I've been sending her people all day to talk to. Okay? Yacht, that's the, I'm going to see if I remember it, Young Amateur Communications Ham Team. Boom, see? That's a group of people, kids, that it's like a, I don't know how to best describe it. It's a ham club like online kind of thing. And they talk. They have like Echo Link and stuff like that. They talk. In fact, one kid from Yacht came and met her today and is like, hey, we're Yacht people, okay? That's cool. And then when they show up to like Dayton and stuff like that, they apparently go get pizza. I need to find out how to get pizza. Carp, no, not the fish. Okay, another thing that's kind of fallen into my bailiwick is our collegiate program. Kids that are in college, we have a monthly Zoom call for colleges all over the world for kids that are like, they can just talk and geek out about ham radio and talk about what they're doing. And then YARC, there's a Discord server for YARC. Okay, that's Young Amateur or Youth Amateur Radio Club. Okay, just make sure they're old enough to go in that one. That one's a little spicy. And then other things, some of you have said some of the other things. POTA is a great thing, especially if you can compare it with those kids that like outdoor stuff. POTA is a great thing for that. All right, welcome youth to your clubs. You checking my time? Oh, okay. Let them come to your club and don't make them sit. This picture right here, I keep this picture in every presentation I do because if you'll notice, there are two sides to the room. There's the old people and there's the young people. Do you really think they feel included? No, it's like the kiddie table at Thanksgiving. They don't want to sit at the kiddie table. Okay? If you, hey, welcome. We have a space for you over here. That's not inclusive. That's just kind of like, oh, it's one of those. Okay? This kid right here, in fact, this kid right here presented last year. This is him presenting, I think, in this very tent. Last year, he actually showed up. This kid's kind of an anomaly because, he got his license, he got his Baofeng, he went home, he couldn't hit the repeater. He climbed on the roof of his barn. He still couldn't hit the repeater. He emailed me and said, I can't hit the repeater. Are my settings right? I'm like, yeah, you're just too far today. He's like, no, I'm not. So he built him a roll-up J-pole antenna and figured out Echolink and started jacking around with it. And guess who was on the repeater? Okay, so he shows up to the ham club, the old man's ham club, and says, anybody in here know how to do Echolink? None of the old guys knew how to do Echolink. So the next month he did a presentation on how to do Echolink and set it up on your phone. And they were like, whoa, oh, that's a big moth. Sorry. Squirrel! So be open to letting them do that kind of stuff. If the kid's asking, hey, can I do a presentation?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, anything else? Let's see. Yeah, we don't have time for another TPS. All right, so quick little ideas for the kids that like being outside. POTA, SOTA, camping, scouts. This pairs perfectly with scouts. For the kids who like to build stuff, Makey-Makeys, which I don't have one here today, snap circuits kits, and then you've got all the digital stuff like that. In fact, I was reading through some feedback that, one of the youth amateur radio groups did it, I don't know. I was reading through it today, and one of the kids said, I got interested into amateur radio because I found it in my YouTube suggested videos, and I had no idea I could transfer data using RF. And that's from like a 14-year-old kid. That's what got them. So stuff like WinLink, believe it or not, kids still think is cool. Y'all remember these? This is the old school. This is the new ones. It does the same stuff. For your younger kids especially, I'm going fast now, so if y'all have a question, throw something at me because I'm about to get in trouble. Beginning circuit, stuff like that. Building stuff. Look at that beautiful solder work. Yes, that's sarcasm. Okay? Kids are going to screw stuff up. That's fine. Guess who still learns when they screw stuff up? Do you think that kid doesn't realize that radio doesn't work? I promise, they know, okay? And so what I started doing is I started saving the old ones that didn't work so that the next year I could teach kids to solder on that board and desolder. And then when they could make a nice little Hershey's Kiss looking, connection, then they got this kit. Hacking radios. There's another YouTube guy, T.O., temporarily offline. He actually hacked that little JGU 60. When I say hack, now when I say hack, please don't think it's like, the movie Sneakers. Because not all hacking is, the evil people that are stealing your bank information. No, okay? This is just running Linux in the background. It's a software-defined radio. So he actually installed WSJTX on the radio itself so he could do FT8. That's kind of neat. Anybody in here do that? No, but kids like that kind of stuff. Elmering, that is my child unit. And that is, how old was she? 8, 7, something like that. My kid went to the same club, and she goes, hey, y'all do Parks on the Air? They went, no. So the next month, we went and did a Parks on the Air. Now, all of the old guys are standing around on the outside because one guy brought his granddaughter. And so my kid said, well, here, I'll help you with it. And 3 hours later, they were still working the pile up. Okay, but guess what? Solidified her, she's now going into teaching. She's got her extra class license. And this one right here, she probably has her technician by now. I'm gonna move. Not all Elmering has to be in person. Don't worry, this is the right place. I'm just running over. Okay, but he's not here yet anyway. So YouTube, stuff like that. You can Elmer through some of these youth groups and stuff like that, the Discord servers. Good Elmering leads to club strength. We know this stuff. And Elmers can be of any age. Believe it or not, she teaches at Long Island CW Club. I'm just going to be blunt. My CW sucks. I can send, okay. I can't receive. Well, I can receive. I just can't make sense of it. Okay. So I could actually learn a lot from her. Is that cool? Absolutely. So you've got to be open. This has got to be a two-way relationship. Kids can teach us old folks as much, if not more, in some things. In fact, she had a slide that I took a picture of because I need to steal it, okay, on her presentation this morning. And it was an older fella here and a kid here, and he's sitting there saying, I need to teach you CW. And the kid's saying, I need to teach you computers so you can do FT8. That was beautimous. By the way, I'm stealing that. All right, we're going to blow past that one for now. Okay, so this is amateur radio. We have to create a culture for amateur radio. And this is one where I get under a few people's skin sometimes. Okay, it should be obvious. Get kids on the air. However it is they choose to do it, get them on the air. Teach them to use the equipment that they can use for their license and give them a taste of what is yet to come. Okay? He likes DX. As a technician, there was very little space he can do. But you get that kid who's a tech, let him all of a sudden, oh, I just worked Africa? Well, guess who's got a little bit of motivation to get an upgrade now? Okay? Be okay with that. When you hear kids on the air, now this is big for me, please talk to them. School Club Roundup is coming up. Please spin the dial and listen for kids. Because I actually had a teacher email me yesterday, and I answered him last night, saying, my kids are worried nobody's going to talk to them for School Club Roundup. That's sad. Okay? Start spinning the dial if you're at the house, listen for kids, and answer them. Okay? And you know, they've got their little thing. The teacher gives them the script. What's your favorite color? Don't be afraid to talk to them beyond that. They like that stuff. My daughter stopped an entire POTA activation to talk to some old guy that lives down in the coast of Mississippi. 20 minutes later, she finally got finished talking to this guy. And guess what? The pileup was still there. We're good with that. So please, please, please talk to the kids on the air. And if you talk to the kids on the air and it's on the repeater, absolutely do not lecture them. I had one kid make his first contact the day his call sign came. That was his last contact because a certain individual chewed him out because he said 10-4. He saw it on TV. He thought he was being cool. He got a lecture. That radio never came back to school. He's done. Stick a fork in him. We just lost one. Okay? Because as soon as you lecture him, whoops, we end up there. That fire they had, we just doused it. Okay? Don't douse their fire. All right, so how do we get them? I'm a firm believer, obviously, that one of the best ways is through teachers and schools. Okay? I have all of these things sitting in my office. I've got thousands of them. And people email me, say, hey, I'm going to go talk to a school principal. I send them a packet of stuff. It's everything. It's how to talk to teachers, or how to talk to principals, a brochure for our Teachers Institute, what it does for your schools, and then I print off a copy of every single ARRL Foundation scholarship that kids got last year. Okay? $900 and some odd thousand worth of scholarships were awarded last year. They have to be a ham to be eligible for those. I've got them all highlighted and pretty so that the principal, when you walk out the door, even if the principal says, no, not my thing, you leave that laying right on top, because principals have a hard time saying no to scholarship money for kids. Okay? I'll send it to you. I don't charge you anything. Throw it in the mail. Okay? These are some of those scholarships that you'll see. Follow-up and support. One last thing that I'm doing is a teacher comes through Teachers Institute. I connect them to our field organization. Anybody in here a part of our field organization? Section manager, youth coordinator, anything like that? Okay? I connect the dots. I call this field organization. I call the director, the vice director, the section manager, and I give them that person's contact information, because regardless of what you may think, okay, teachers get busy. Okay? He's an administrator back there. He can vouch for this. Teachers get busy. So instead, we have an entire organization of people that are chomping at the bit to please help. The teacher emails them, they make those connections. Next thing you know, bada bing, bada boom, do the fandango. We got a working relationship going. We're still helping kids in school through the teacher. Okay? And that initial phone call is not enough, because the day that you call that teacher and say, hey, I'm willing to help, they may, who knows what they've got going on. They might have had a kid just puke on their shoes. Okay, they're busy. A few weeks go by, shoot them an email, say, hey, just letting you know, we're still here if you need anything. Okay, but don't force that one either. Just like new hams, if we don't engage them, the same thing with new teachers. If we don't get them engaged though, it's gonna slip away. Okay, and this is kind of my last thing. We have to focus on the vision, and this is kind of my, I don't know what you want to call it. That there is a difference between a goal and a vision. Okay? To me, a goal is finite. It is definable. It has an end point. I want to license 100 new hams. When I get done with my 100 new hams, guess what? I'm done. Negative. Okay, instead I'm more of a visionary kind of person. This needs to be the norm. I don't have a goal of 100 kids, 200 kids, 500 kids, 100 teachers, 200 teachers, 500 teachers. Instead, I want this just to be the norm. This is a culture where kids are constantly learning about wireless technology. We're looking to try to get these programs into other countries. I've spoken to 8 or 10 people who don't even speak English at this Hamfest. Apparently somebody found out that I speak kind of sort of Spanish. And next thing you know, they're all coming up asking me, can we do this here? Maybe. Working on it. Okay, but we have to start somewhere. If we don't ever start somewhere, we never start. Okay, so focus on the vision. All the little obstacles will work themselves out as long as you keep your vision. Okay, so how can you help? Join ARRL. If you are not a member, please. Okay, I use donor money. It is specifically set aside for Teachers Institute. I don't use donor money for traveling to teacher conferences and spreading this. It is purely for Teachers Institute. So when you join ARRL, that helps get more teachers in. If you are a member, thank you. I don't think we say that enough. Thank you. Okay. And if you are a member and have the means, consider joining Diamond Club. Consider donating to the education technology program. Okay, because every little bit helps. I get a little list every week of people that have donated. We get people donate $5, $10. But if we get enough people donating $5 or $10, all of a sudden I can have a session in South Carolina. All of a sudden I have another, we just have to start that ball rolling. And most of all, this is the year of the volunteers. Get out there and help. I know, but you know what, it's just Josh. Okay, no, seriously, Josh said it, come on in. Josh said if I run a few minutes over, he's good, because he knows I kind of get preachy. Okay, so lend a hand. If you have the means or the ability to, help out in a school, help out in a VE team, help get kids licensed. If you need to know how to help, email me. I'll be more than glad to tell you. Okay, I answer every phone call, I answer every email. Sometimes it may take me a minute because I'm on the road a lot lately. Okay, that is my contact information. I also have business cards up here. You have any questions, any answers, any theories about life, liberty, or the pursuit of ham radio, I'm more than happy to answer those for you. Any questions?
Giveaway.
Oh, well, I only have 2 utes. How old are you?
30.
Oh, you're too old. So I have 2 utes. So, So pick a number between 1 and 10. 6. Here you go. So I'm not going to throw it because I opened it to make sure it was all there. Okay, that's one of those FM radio kits that they have. Those are great, by the way. Even if all you do is you buy a couple Baofengs and send it to your local school club. It's a beautiful thing. Anyway, that's all I got. Thank you. Any questions, let me know.